Possible gunshot victim 245 just Granada Shore at 9311 Hooper.
There he goes. Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
Air 20, Christian 7 just fine. Sit down to 93 Hooper.
In East Los Angeles, daylight is usually the calm before the storm. Gang units in East LA are just hours away from hitting the streets for night patrol. And they are streets famous for one thing: gang violence.
Possible gunshot victim 245 just...
Gang investigators only have to look at an office wall to be reminded of the gang murders in Los Angeles County. 800 last year, compared to 270 a decade ago. In East LA, pictures of murdered gang members on a wall send a clear message. Gang violence is out of control here, and there is no way now to wipe it out.
If it's an emerging gang problem, it can be stopped. It can be redirected. If it's an established gang problem, you're going to live with it. You're going to be like us. We have 1,155 gangs, 150,000 gang members, nearly 800 people a year killed by gangs. You don't want that, just in LA County. You don't want that.
What are you getting so excited about? What are you getting so excited about?
But the Sheriff's Department in East LA nearly every night sends out teams of gang investigators. It's part of an effort to make the streets safer. When the sun goes down, the gangs get active. This is East LA, birthplace to gangs as we know them. Just what kind of gang problem do East Los Angeles authorities deal with every day? Well, in a 7 square mile area, there are 100 gangs with nearly 11,000 members.
Watch it for a second, will you? Okay.
Clay County Sheriff Larry Costello and 3 others from the department watched firsthand as these teams stopped dozens of gang members nightly. The gangsters were searched, interrogated, and as part of this operation, gang members were photographed and tattoo information all written down and entered into a computer. Clay County Sheriff Larry Costello says it's this constant harassing of gangs that will get them to move out of cities like Fargo-Moorhead, only if it's done early enough.
You can prevent this from happening if you get on it early enough, do some proactive law enforcement, and let these gangs know that we're not going to tolerate them.
It's much like cancer. If you get on it early, you got a good chance. If you ignore it, let it ferment and fester, then you're like us. Then you learn to live with it.
In East LA, authorities are predicting the use of these special gang units will result in fewer gang murders. Here in East LA, all gangs are Hispanic. Very few murders are drug-related. Instead, the battle is over turf. It has been going on for decades, with no sign of relief. Children keep dying, so will their children, and it's a circle of violence that will forever be a way of life here. With photographer Kerry Shelton in East Los Angeles, Kevin Wallivan, WDAY News Center 6.
Air 7, possible gunshot victim 245 just Granada Shore at 9311 Hooper.
There he goes. Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
After a week of rain in Southern California, the weekend begins with a cool evening. But the gang activity in East Los Angeles is about to start. For the special gang units in East LA, the evening begins with a saturation of gangsters walking the streets. There are hundreds of them. Throughout the night, dozens will be frisked for weapons, their cars searched. But tonight, the call goes out, a gang shooting.
Suspect was last seen running northeastbound City Terrace.
A gang member, known as Buzzard, in his 20s, is shot by a neighboring gangster. It appears he will survive. The gang units, Operation Safe Streets, and the gang enforcement teams quickly begin the search for the shooter.
Where was he? Some woman said her son saw it.
A young eyewitness is found. His protection is important, so he and his family don't become victims too.
He hears the pop, a couple of shots, he looks back, sees the guy fall to the ground and sees the other guy run down to the corner and then go eastbound.
The whole time, Clay County authorities watch as East LA gang units try to find the shooter. Several gang members are lined up and stare into a bright light. The witness tries, but fails tonight to ID the gunman.
Okay, have a seat.
It seems rather trite, but life in a gang is the only life most of these Hispanic children know. Gangs in America got their start in East LA decades ago. Unlike the gangs of South Central LA, East LA gangs fight not over drugs, but turf.
What you've got is another gang coming and crossing them out, which is basically an insult to them, which leads to shootings and in the gang violence that we have today.
And the effects of this gang warfare are widespread, residents feeling like prisoners in their own neighborhoods. And this has been going on for generations here in East LA.
Gangs started in East Los Angeles in the 40s and the 50s and evolved from there and haven't changed. And when you've got your father, or even, your grandfather was a gang member, your father was a gang member, your mother is a gang member, now you're a gang member, now you're 19 years old and you're having your own kids now, and then those kids are, evolving into the gang life because that's all they see. That's the only lifestyle that they've seen or have.
You got to also remember too that these gangs have been around here since the 30s and 40s. So entrenched now, it's beyond, actually eliminated or eradicating the problem.
It's accepted.
It is.
Rich Ramirez should know. He grew up here in East LA. He got out. He has watched as childhood friends go to prison. And he has watched as some of his friends have gone to their grave. With photographer Kerry Shelton in East LA, Kevin Walden, WDAY News Center 6.
Air 7, possible contact, Wing 245, just turn out of at 9311 Hooper.
There he goes. Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
It seems appropriate. The name of the Sheriff's Department in East Los Angeles is called Fort Apache, and at times it can be a war zone. It is here where special gang units hit the streets on night patrol, harassing or jamming anyone that walks, talks, or acts like a gangster. In other words, nearly everyone. On this night during patrol, two youngsters flashed the gang unit down. They say someone pulled a gun on them and he left on a bike.
Well, how long ago? Put your hands down, guys.
You see the sheriff's going down native.
Which?
Just see you guys going across the
Yeah, where is he at with the gun?
Went up that same street.
Going the other way? He has.
10 speed. What's he wearing?
Is he a black guy or Mexican?
Edwards advising that attempt 211 occurred about 10 minutes ago.
There he is. We're at 7-8 from Carmel. Let's see.
2 male black suspects arrested.
Yeah, that is.
That's
good. There he goes. There he goes. Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Spread your feet! Spread your feet, fool! Shut up before I put a bullet in you, man. Put your hands behind your back. I said put your hands behind your back, man.
I know y'all the police, man.
You got the other one?
Man, I thought y'all was some motherfuckers trying to kill me, man. Shit.
Where's the gun?
Ain't no gun.
Yeah, okay.
I thought that was somebody trying to shoot me, man.
You 7'6"?
But a gun is found, and
Got
Scrap,
it?
as he's
Good
known
job.
in the gang, is
You're all
off to
shut
jail again.
We knew you had a gun. That's why we're over here, man. You pointed a gun at somebody earlier. Who? You. All right, watch yourself getting inside, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna get everything, brother. I ain't gonna leave it for you. Watch your head, man.
I tell you what.
Get inside.
This year in Los Angeles County, authorities are hoping for a decrease in the gang-related murder rate. It has not been pretty. From 270 gang-related deaths in 1985 to 800 this past year. Because gangs have been here so long, the neighborhoods are rooted. and that makes it hard to prosecute gang members for anything, including murder. Many, like these gang members, join at the age of 12 or 13. Their life is a game. They kill and die for it.
If you have fear, you be hiding behind people. If there's fear, you go down, eh? There's no such thing as fear. You know what I'm saying? You can't have fear out here in this world, out here in this gangster life.
Kill me, so what? I'm right here. I'm gonna die for my barrio, Holmes.
You die for your gang.
Yeah, I'm gonna die for my barrio. I kill for my barrio the same, Holmes. I die and kill for my barrio.
A small city, you want to stop the gangs, you got to stop it by getting the active players out of the ballpark, get them out of the game now, and you'll prevent your problem from escalating and turning into a problem that now all you're doing is catching up as opposed to suppressing it right away.
You need to take an aggressive posture, a proactive posture. Sure, some people are going to think the law enforcement is like Gestapo, but if you don't take care of it now, what's going to happen? The community is going to suffer later on.
The gangs have no fear, and cities like East LA know they can't stop it now. There will be more murders, more riots, and here, neighborhoods will feel more like prison than they do home. With photographer Kerry Shelton in East LA, Kevin Walden, WDAY News Center 6.
Air 7, possible contact, Victim 245, just turn out a tour at 9311 Hooper.
There he goes. Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
And with a revolver, unknown.
The presence of special gang units here in East Los Angeles is working. The gang murder rate, although epidemic, is dropping slightly. For 3 days and nights, Clay County authorities saw firsthand how law enforcement operates and survives in this birthplace of gangs. Investigators from Clay County videotaped graffiti. They watched and took part in jammings, where gang units frisk and interview any gang member they find. Weapons are the tools that kill here on the streets of East LA.
You got to remember with the Hispanic gangs, they think that they're like soldiers. Literally, they think they're soldiers. Where your black gang members think of themselves as gangsters. Hispanic gang members, that's why it's a turf thing. They protect their turf, but in reality, that's not true because a lot of times they rob and steal from people that live within the turf. But that's their thinking.
The Clay County Sheriff's Department team came away from East LA with a new mission, to crack down now on gang activity while it is young. East LA gang units are allowed to photograph and document gang members' name, address, gang name and nickname, as well as other information. Clay County would like to do the same, but laws prohibit it. Still, a computerized listing of gangsters is on the way for Moorhead, as well as improved gang intelligence. All these small steps could help move the gangs out or keep them from coming in.
I call them bullet holes would make you want to get out, wouldn't they?
If Clay County authorities heard one message loud and clear from East Los Angeles law enforcement, it is to get a handle on a gang problem quickly.
They've all said the same thing. You've got to be upfront with the public. If you hide it from the public and you don't go after it right away as a law enforcement problem, by the time the public and the so-called leaders are willing to admit it, it's over. I mean, it's gone. They've established their ground, they've established their turfs and the problems. All you can do then is try to keep a lid on them.
For those who live their lives on the streets of East LA, they know no other way. They talk of respect and pride of being a gangster, but you talk to them one-on-one, and you get a much different story.
You know, I don't plan to stay here all my life. When I have my kids, hopefully they will be raised differently than I was. You know, I didn't have a choice. I was born right in the heart of Maravilla. You know, I didn't have a choice. But if I have a choice, you know what? I want myself to someone better community, Mexico or something. You know what I'm saying?
If you have a family, you'd like them out of there.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't like to. Why would I like them being raised like I was? Put it that way. That's straight out.
There are at least 100 gangs with 11,000 members just in East LA, a 7-square-mile area. Since gangs have been here for generations, it's unrealistic to think that law enforcement can get rid of the problem. It is here to stay. But it's hoped cities like Fargo-Moorhead can learn from this city's history, a city whose streets have become a battleground. Children and their way of life are the casualties here. With photographer Kerry Shelton in East LA, Kevin Wallowin, WDAY News Center 6.